All right. Well, currently I am, I think, 4.5 weeks out from Wodapalooza. I decided a couple months ago that I wanted to do like an off-season competition. Really wanted to do Rogue, but it just like wasn't a good setup for me as far as, even though I felt like the games I had a great performance, I'm still continuing the healing journey with my back. And Randy and I were just like, with that one, it's just like so heavy. It wouldn't like present you well. And I was like, that's fair. So hopefully I'll be able to do that one in the near future because I really like Rogue and I like the way they set it up and how they treat us. So we went with Wodapalooza. Now, I just got done with the High Rocks and that was a lot of fun. Hard, but it was like a good training session for getting back into like that competition mode because when you're in something like that, can you not? But anyway, so I think it was good to do the High Rocks because it got me back into like that competition setting. Because if I were to do the High Rocks in the gym compared to there, it's like you're going to go that much slower. And yeah, I was like, okay, now I know like in these next, 5 or 6 weeks of training. Gosh. Now I know in these next 5 or 6 weeks of training leading into Wodapalooza, a little bit more of what I need to do, which was like adding in some like longer duration pieces, but also trying to like bring that intensity that I got from the High Rocks into the gym a little bit, which it's hard, but it's doable when you have that stimulus or that thought. So there was that. And then I just got back from a trip where I was gone for 10 days. Fortunately and unfortunately, I planned this trip way before I knew I was going to do Wodapalooza. And honestly, being in CrossFit, there's really not a great time to take a vacation or do something for yourself. And so being 8 years in, I'm kind of just at this point where I want to continue to work on balance throughout the season and balance in my life, which has always been a really difficult thing for me. It's either I'm doing this and I'm not doing that. I'm going 100% in with this and everything else is cut out. And I don't know, I think just getting into my 30s, I'm like, there's a way to have balance with all of this and still compete at a really high level, but also hang out with friends and go on vacation. So I just got back from that on Tuesday. Those 10 days that I had was the most successful vacation I have ever had. As far as balance goes, I was able to get all of my training in. Yeah, about like 90% of it, which is a huge success for me. Not only that, but I was able to stay healthy with my back. I did not get sick because I was on the East Coast. I was all the way in Asheville, North Carolina. And every time I go out in that direction, I always get sick. So, like, that was a huge win. Something I've always been wanting and something I've wanted to work on too is I have a hard time sometimes communicating with significant others when I'm on vacation. Not because I don't want to, but I'm a very like, what's in the now, what's happening right in front of me. And so that's something that I've been working on throughout my relationship with Randy is when I go out of town, like making sure that I check in, and I was able to do that. So I thought that was super successful. I was able to just like hang out with Marvelyn and Emma, my two best friends, go out to eat. My stomach didn't get messed up. Like everything about the trip was a huge success. But then I got back home. There was a lot of flags that led me to where I am in this moment, which is now 3 or 4 days removed from the trip. I can't put myself in this position where I'm just like shaming myself because that's not going to help whatsoever with where I'm at. But my back ended up going out on me the day after I got back from the vacation. It took 5 hours to get home on the plane, and that's not without all the other travel. We had to get up really early, so I got about 4 hours of sleep before traveling. Did not sleep on the planes whatsoever. I could just tell that my body was tight just from like sitting, like my thoracic wasn't moving the way it was supposed to. My hips were tight. I didn't really stretch probably as much as I should have when I was out there, but once again, it's like balance. I decided to work out the day I got back. Luckily, my body held up, but it was starting to give me signals of, you're about to push your luck. So the following day, I kind of like woke up. And usually for me, so I have like these breathing exercises that I do in the morning from Dr. Loke. They're PRI exercises. And they help me just kind of get to baseline. And baseline is a feeling for me, but I can just tell like, okay, my back is in a good position. I'm feeling good. And usually in the morning, I can get myself into that position because I'll wake up kind of funky and I'm good for the day. That morning, before my back went out on me, that was like my first signal of like, okay, you either need to have caution going into the gym today or you need to just like take today off. I listened to neither of those flags. I said to myself, you're 4.5 weeks out from Wodapalooza. You're not hitting certain weights that you need to be hitting. And my mind went into like the scarcity mindset. I call it my drill sergeant, which has gotten me into a lot of trouble over the past, 7, 8 years of my career. And I've really, really worked on that the last 2 years of not listening to that. I think there's a time and a place to listen to the drill sergeant, but not when there's all these other factors playing into it. Not when you're on 4 hours of sleep, not when your body's not responding to certain things that it usually does. For me, that's the PRI exercises. Yeah, just not listening to the signals that my body was like slowly just like, hey, I'm still here. And I think part of the issue too was like the last 8 to 10 weeks of programming. If I'm not feeling 100%, I'm still able to do my program. And so I kind of brought that type of mindset into that day of training, but I didn't have the other factors. I didn't have the factor of traveling. I didn't have the factor of being not in my bed sleeping for 10 days in a row. I didn't have the factor of like my back just not responding to things fully. So I made a mistake. And I think that's okay because it just shows me that I have done a lot of healing, but there's still a lot more healing to do. And I think when life kind of stops you in your tracks, it allows you to see that. And it's not to like say that in a rude way to myself, but it's in a way that's just showing me that there's still a lot of room to grow and a lot of healing to be done. So when the back did go out on me, it's always a choice to like continue on or not. And in that moment, I was like, you're done. So I'm proud of myself for that. And I think also when life stops you in your tracks, like you can still see progress if you decide to have that type of perspective. And so I think luckily in my journey so far, I'm at a point where I can see that progress even when I accidentally take a couple steps back. And that was shown through one, that usually it's denial. It's like, oh, I'm fine. My back is fine. Let me just do one more rep. And that one more rep is what gets me into a huge hole. That's what puts me out for like 6 to 8 weeks instead of maybe, and hopefully this one's only like a couple of days, maybe a week. And I've also, these last couple of days, have had a lot of peace. Doesn't make sense. It doesn't mean that I don't feel like frustrated about it, but there's also the dichotomy in my heart of like feeling peace through this whole thing, like it's going to be okay. And so that's showing me that I'm growing too. I think the piece is there because I'm finally able to separate Bethany as an athlete and like who I am as a person. So that way, like when my back does go out on me, it's not like the end of the world. And I feel like the enemy wants me to believe that because I feel like that, I'm not a good competitor. I don't want it as much. But I actually think that makes me a better competitor when I'm able to separate the two. I was able to see that the last couple of days through this, and I think I'm super proud about that. I also do my best writing, unfortunately, fortunately, when there's pain or when life stops me in my tracks. So I've actually gotten a lot of writing. And I think that's kind of a cool aspect too, because I think 5 or 6 years ago when my back would go out on me, that was it. Like that was my life. I am an athlete. And if I can't be in the gym, I can't be happy. And now if I can't be in the gym, like I haven't been the last couple of days, I can still be happy and find joy because I can bring more into the world than just being an athlete. You know, that's still a part of me and I want it to be for as long as possible. But also I'm Bethany the daughter, Bethany the wife, Bethany the best friend, Bethany the writer, Bethany the YouTuber. Like there's just so many Bethany the dog mom. Like there's so many more aspects to me that I can now see, and it takes perspective. It takes life happening sometimes for you able to see like the growth that's happening in your life. So I can, even though this is very unfortunate timing and it's not something that I want to happen to me, I can still see the good in it and I can still see good in my life. God is good. God is good to me and I'm still good. Like there's still good. So I'm like grateful for the perspective of all of this. But do I want my back to go out on me? Do I want to be in pain? Do I want to like sit in the car right now and know when I stand up that I'm going to have a hard time walking? No. But can I do anything about it right now? No. But can I do something with my headspace? Yes, because that's the only thing that I have going for me. I don't know what I'm going to do as far as Wodapalooza goes in this exact moment, but I'm just kind of taking it day by day and probably going to try to make a decision sometime next week and just see how things play out. I knew going into Wodapalooza that conditioning wise, I'm not going to be like at 100%, and that wasn't the goal. But I think there's this like belief system that I have to be at a certain percentage to like have fun and to feel good. And that may or may not be true. And I think that's based off of 2022 and going to Wodapalooza and not feeling fit and just feeling like I got crushed the entire time. But I actually had to remind myself this morning that I could show up just as fit as I did in 2022 and have a completely different experience because I'm a different person than I was in 2022. My circumstances were way different in 2022 than they are now. And so I actually was like kind of talking myself out of that this morning. I was like, there's a part of me that doesn't want to do it because I want to advocate for myself and like not put myself in that position where I could be in like this huge mental hole because I'm not fit. And then when I'm not fit, I'm not having fun when I compete. But what if that's supposed to be a part of my story? You know, I don't know what God is trying to do in this moment. I don't know what he wants me to do, but my job right now is to continue to work on this part, continue to work on this part, and like believe that whatever God has in store for me for the next month, like it will be made known. If I'm supposed to go and compete, I'll know. If I'm supposed to go and compete with the little that I have, and I just like can't really train these next couple of weeks, but I'm supposed to go, like I think it'll be made known. Or I go and I'm able to train these next couple of weeks. Like I don't know, but that's not for me to do. That's not my job. My job is to be kind to myself, like to be kind to myself in this moment and know that like were there mistakes made in the last couple of days that kind of led me to this? Yes. But if I just put myself in the shame cycle and beat myself up, am I going to help myself? No. No one's perfect. And this is just a reminder of that, that like my back is still a part of my story, though it has gotten so much better. Y'all, the last time my back went out on me was March before quarterfinals. So, and that one was bad. I'm glad I'm not in that position. I was in pain for about 2 weeks. I couldn't even sleep. I was crying in the middle of the night because I was like in so much pain. I couldn't even walk Bella. Like that one was really bad. So at least I'm not there. I'm grateful for that. So yeah, I've had this huge gap of time where I've been able to train. And that's freaking awesome. I've had like the best off season I've had probably my entire career. I've been able to stay pain free. I've been able to keep my back out of getting into this position. I see this whole thing as a huge win, and hopefully me sharing this can help somebody out there. I'm not sharing this because I want to get sympathy, because that doesn't do anything for me anymore. This isn't for people pleasing. This isn't to, yeah, it's not for sympathy. I'm hoping this story can help people realize that like slow growth equals strong roots. And like my story has been nothing but slow growth over the last 5 or 6 years since I started my mental health journey and my relationship with God. And at the same time, you're not going to be perfect and you're sometimes going to take a couple steps back. But what are you going to do with that? Like, are you going to learn? Like, I wrote it all out this morning of like maybe where I could have said no instead of yes. And it wasn't to shame myself, but it was to like acknowledge and learn that like there's things I could have done differently and I will make a different choice next time, you know? So it's like more of an accountability thing for me. So yeah, my back is hurting. I'm in pain. It actually does feel better than it has the last 2 days. So that's a huge win. And we're just going to take it day by day and just see what the outcome is. Like, I don't know how God wants me to compete at Wodapalooza if he does, but if it's at 70%, it's at 70%, and there's nothing I can do about that. Like, maybe I'm there for somebody else, you know, maybe it's not for me. So we'll see. We'll see. I think reminding yourself that it's okay to have an allotted time to kind of have like this little shame cycle or just like be frustrated or annoyed. And I think just kind of like grief comes in waves. It's the same thing with this stuff when it's like you make a mistake that you personally did. to yourself. And so I think just releasing that and reminding you that there is freedom in allowing yourself that time. And so, like, right when my back went out on me on Wednesday, it's like I gave myself a good cry. Like, it's okay to cry. And I think that was actually very helpful to cry and release some of that. And then it's like I talk to my advocates, like I call myself out. Call yourself out, have your people that you can like cry to, talk to. I think that has been like a huge part of my journey is like community and having advocates that like love me for me, not just me and like what I can give to the world and like the accomplishments that I have. It's like, no, they just love me for me and who I am. And so I think just having that time to like call yourself out, cry, is very important to like the healing part and the healing journey. So I just wanted to remind people of that. When I was actually driving to the gym before all of this happened, I was like in the car, and that's usually my time that like I will like talk out loud either to myself or like to God and just like pray. And it was funny because I actually started crying in the car to with myself. And it like wasn't anything like I don't know why I started crying. I just started crying. I was like, man, that should have been a signal in itself. Like, I'm having an emotional day. I need to be kind to myself in the gym. And I was not. I was like talking myself through to remind myself that like God is like always working, even in the silence. And sometimes it comes in ways that you don't expect it. Like we always have like these thoughts of how you think that God should show up in your life or how you should get success or what your life should look like. And I was like reminded that morning that really good things can happen in your life, but you have to have perspective and let go of your expectations of how you think your life should go because you don't know how God is trying to use you. And I've kind of experienced that the last couple of years of kind of just letting go of the steering wheel and letting go of control. And I find myself trying to have control, obviously, because my back. But I think there's freedom in that. And maybe that's why I started crying. But there is freedom when you let go of how you expect God to work or just how you expect life to work, even if you're not religious, even if you don't believe in God. When we can like let go of that, there is so much freedom because you can just be used in so many ways. Letting go of your own expectations of how success looks like, which is very, very challenging and very hard. And I find myself trying to be in control of that and like not being happy when good things happen because it didn't happen this way, it happened that way. So it's a reminder to me, a reminder to everybody else to pursue things, have plans, but also when plans turn, good things can still happen when plans get flipped upside down. And I think it's hard for us humans to allow that to happen in our minds. And I think that takes muscle and I think that takes intentionality and I think it just takes perspective. So and I should have put that a little bit more to work in the gym. I'm saying all this stuff because, guys, I do not have it all together. And I make my own mistakes all the time. But I just try to, whatever's on my heart, try to share. So hopefully you got something from that. I'm sure there was way more that I wanted to say, but that's what's coming to my mind right now. At the end of the day, I'm really proud of myself and where I'm at with my mental health journey because it's freaking hard. Mental health journeys are really, really hard, but I'm so proud of myself for taking ownership of that 5 years ago and like starting this whole thing because there's no way I would be where I'm at right now and this today with the people that I have. Like, I have such a good community. I have amazing advocates. I have an amazing husband that helps me. I would not be where I'm at today. So we will see. Catch you at Wodapalooza, maybe.